What's unfortunate is you got a lot of people who believe that you can only achieve spiritual sensitivity through an organized religion or through one of the typical faiths. But then paradoxically, ironically, there's people who they're saying this, but they're just not practitioners of their supposed value system. I really hunger for people aspiring towards having an actual practice of their supposed beliefs. And do you see what's going on politically with the utilization of God, with the utilization of Jesus? How it's so Sadducees, Pharisees based. It's people claiming Jesus is at the forefront, people claiming that God is at the forefront, but there is nothing of Christ, there is nothing of God that is truly being shown. And our standards have become so flimsy. Our standards for what it means to be a true Christian, to be a true believer. Look, this is the problem. It's not about just Christianity. It's about being a true believer of any value system. And no, you're never going to be perfect. But are you really aspiring towards this value system? I say if you're fixating on color, which everyone in this country is constantly doing, if you're fixating on gender, which everybody in this country is constantly doing, you are missing the principles of spirituality, of Christianity, of insert your belief system here. You're missing the basic principles. What do you take from there's neither Jew nor Greek in the spirit of Christ? What does that mean to you? Does it mean anything? What does it mean to you to say faith without works is dead? Where are the works? Where's the effort? What do you take the scriptures that involve Jesus constantly communicating that to be obsessed with wealth, to be a wealth hoarder is incompatible with the spirit of Christ. Yet who is it that we're constantly choosing to be our representatives? Who is it that we're constantly worshiping as celebrities? These people that are wealth hoarders, I'm not demonizing having money. I'm just saying, if you believe what you say you believe, then act like you believe what you say you believe. I should not, there's nobody holding anybody to account for this, because everyone, what people really do want is the permission to just have their tailor-made belief system. And all you got to do, the panacea here, the silver bullet, the one size fits all activity or decision you have to engage in is just to say, oh yeah, I believe in God. La 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 la. I believe in God. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I believe in God. But you're not showing it through what you're talking about. You're not showing it through what you're focused on. You're not showing it through your efforts and through your aspirations. It's just not. It's not there. And why it matters is because we will continue to see the unraveling of our social fabric. And we'll continue to see it because we don't care about each other at large. And what is one of the main reasons why we don't care about each other? Because we are so lost in the sauce of the pathetic, pitiful inclinations, proclivities of our humanity. This is why I am a proponent of some form of spiritual pursuit, because the fundamentally to engage in a spiritual pursuit is to engage in a pursuit that is besides our surface level selves. Surface level obsession, surface level fixation will only bring you hollowness. Surface level fixation will only bring you emptiness. Surface level fixation will only make you make decisions that eventually, years from now, you will regret and say, why did I do that? And people talk about all the time, oh, what was I doing? What? You can know what you're doing now. You can wake up now. I hope you know. You can have an epiphany right now. You don't have to have an epiphany a decade from now when you have the inability to do anything about it, or rather, you are just less likely to do something about it. You could do something about it now. And also, ultimately, I selfishly care because I would like for this world to progress and be better and evolve. Because if we're not striving to be better, we're only going to become worse. This is true for us collectively. This is true for us singularly. And so I'm a big proponent of spiritual pursuit. And no, I don't believe you need any commercial organized religion to tap into this. I believe what some things you need to do is, for one, the boring work of sitting in silence, reflecting, being completely honest and non-judgmental, ask right questions. What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to have a life? What does it mean? The fact that because we're going to die, what should I therefore do? What should I therefore be thinking about? How should I therefore be treating other people? But it's completely absurd if you then bring into the equation that there's a supreme being that cares about your every action, that cares about your every decision. Because then it's just the most disrespect. All I see people doing is disrespecting the supposed God they believe in. And it's so silly. Like, why be silly about it? Just don't profess you believe in this God. That's it. But you are full of crap to say that you do, and then your behavior is as shallow as I don't know what. And your concerns and your interests are superficial and shallow as I don't know what. There's no effort. There's no effort. And it's also, if you are somebody who is susceptible to a feeling of unfulfillment, yeah, no wonder you are, because you care so much about this material, being materialistic. You care so much about worldliness. Withdraw. Jesus told the rich man, go and sell all of your belongings. So what are we even talking about? Why do we continue to prop up and to idolize the people whose lifestyles, behaviors, status is antithetical and incompatible with that which Jesus spoke about? And it's not about demonizing somebody who has a lot of money. But my point is, you're idolizing and worshiping them, and you are not focused on something so much more important. And that something much more important is this thing called the quote unquote soul. And where me and you might disagree is what happens when we die. I say, I don't know. And I say, if the God exists, that God, I believe, is in all likelihood not a God at all that we can fathom, or not a God that we've kind of hit the nail on the head with. We think so highly of ourselves because what? Because we have advanced technology, because we make very powerful weapons, because we get to point A to point B very quickly, because the internet was created. Like, what do we say? Because we have, like, AC. Human beings are impressive. Human beings are very, very impressive, especially in relation to the rest of the world. Our intelligence is indicative of something, and it's definitely, it's special, relatively speaking. But if we were truly special, we would have way more harmony. We would be having way more reasoned discussions. We would be having way less discriminatory divisiveness. We would be above that, but we're not above that. And even if we were having a kind of discriminatory divisiveness, it wouldn't be based on our color. It wouldn't be based on our genders. It'd be based on our differing mentalities, purely differing mentalities. It'd be a rainbow coalition of colors, but our values differ. But people say my values do differ. But then you worship elite aristocratic people, and you don't want the best. You don't want the most competent. You want the most popular, the richest. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The minute that anybody that we elect dances on the grave of other people, if you're a godly person, you would think that'd be you. Just that in and of itself, you would consider that to be despicable. You would consider that. How would you think? Do you know the story of Lazarus? Not the story of the Lazarus that was resurrected, but the story of Lazarus at the master's table in the book of Luke, who Lazarus was just eating crumbs at his master's table, and eventually Lazarus went to heaven, the master went to hell, and the master saw Lazarus from hell, and he wished just for a drop of water on his tongue because it was just so hot. That, you are propping up the master of Lazarus, when the one who was rewarded was the servant of who was Lazarus. And we seem to miss this. Jesus, that's what does that scripture tell you? That scripture tells you that the one who is just letting crumbs fall to the people is not going to be the one who's rewarded, but you are rewarding him. And that would be like then. And do you think Jesus would be a fan of people dancing on even that master's grave? Let's talk about the people that like Lazarus is buried, that master is buried. You think Jesus is on board with people's like just dancing on the grave of even the master of Lazarus, let alone Lazarus? Where in Scripture would it suggest this? When Mary Magdalene was about to be stoned, Jesus said, let who is without sin cast the first stone. And yet we have elected officials who are saying the most heinous and despicable things and are claiming simultaneously to be of God, to be representatives of God, representatives of Christ. I hate to use this term, but it's the most anti-Christian stuff that I've seen thus far. And there's no alarms going. There's no discussion about this. No. I'm sick of people hijacking Christianity and using it for political purposes and ripping every pure, beneficial, true component out of it for the sake of political gain. And then I'm mad at their constituents for saying nothing about it. You know why? Because the constituents are just as anti-Christian. I make this argument that we have an anti-Christness, Christ-likeness in this country, and it's not coming from atheists, and it's not coming from Buddhists, it's not coming from any non-Christian. It's coming from the supposed Christians themselves. This hypocrisy that has gone unchecked is indicative of our moral and spiritual bankruptcy. And one of the redeeming elements and qualities of humanity, which was shown in the civil rights movement, is when we really try, we can transcend our baser selves in the name of progress. And now we are devolving, regressing, and enabling each other's superficial usage of God. And it's not okay. And it's not okay for 20 billion different reasons. More than anything, it's not okay because the true spirit of Christianity truly is love your neighbor as yourself. And it's extraordinarily hard to do. Of course it is. But if a supreme being that created the universe told you to do it, I'm pretty sure you should be doing it.